What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Deer Stories. This is a Kentucky buck that I took a couple years ago. The biggest Kentucky buck I've ever taken. It's a big 10 point. The way the story happened was absolutely crazy and fun and all that. So let's get into it. All right, how this story starts is I was on a midnight shift schedule, 11:30, 7:30, and get off at 7:30. Well, it just so happened to be my Friday, so get off at 7:30, and I got 2 days off. Or if you're on midnight shift, it really feels like a day and a half. But anyway, got off at 7:30. I had worked a double that day. I always ensure myself to get out on time on the Friday, and went home. Walked through the door. As soon as I walked through the door, I looked at my phone, checked my camera, my cell camera, and wouldn't you know, this thing is there in daylight in Kentucky, an hour and a half away. I was like, man, I just got done working a double. I'm tired as crap. Do I really want to take the scent-free shower and do all that stuff and get over there an hour and a half and have a chance of not seeing anything at all? I had a gut feeling. I really did. I get a lot of gut feelings in hunting, and so far my gut feelings have paid off pretty more times than not. So I had a gut feeling the way this is going to happen, it's going to happen, and I'm going to end up with this buck. So did all the scent free stuff, hopped in the truck, drove an hour and a half. I usually take my Gator, which is parked at my parents' house, hop on it, and then drive all the way around the trail and then park halfway down the trail. Well, this time I said, I'm not even going to my parents' house right now. I said, I'm just going to park right here in my buddy's field. I'm going to lock everything up. I'm going to walk up this mountainside, and I'm going to sneak in this way. Because I had my rifle with me. It was rifle season. I'd never taken a deer with that rifle, so I was like, I'm gonna take this rifle because I want to shoot a deer with this rifle. And so I got everything ready, got everything locked up, walked up this mountainside, which is right there with Mount Everest is what it felt like, because it was the steepest hill for some reason that I've ever walked up. I don't know why it was so steep, but man, it was just straight up and down basically. And it had that sliding rock. But anyway, I was wore out by the time I got up top of it, and I was sitting there catching my breath a little bit, and finally started to creep through the woods. The ice storm that previous winter had knocked down some trees, so there was trees laying everywhere across the old trail. So I was bobbing and weaving through that stuff and just kind of slowly making my way towards where my stand was. And I caught some movement up probably 40 yards in front of me, and I stopped and I started looking, and there was 3-4 does there, or some does and some babies or something like that from that year. So I'm like, okay, maybe that buck's with them. Maybe he's following them. So I sat there and watched them for a minute. They started coming my way, but they was on the opposite side of the trail. So we were basically going to pass like this. Well, the closer they got, the more I was creeping towards this big tree. I was going to get behind it and didn't just let them go on by me, and I was just going to kind of wrap around the trees as they went by so they wouldn't see me. Well, of course, the big doe, they got beside of me. They stopped. They looked. They're doing that whole thing. So I'm just sitting there just behind this tree, not moving. Did all that. Well, they just kept on creeping. Well, they got downwind from me, and because the wind was blowing perfect for me, for my direction, the way I came in there. As soon as they got downwind, it was over. They started blowing, yelling, screaming, everything. They blew probably 100 times and took off around the ridge. And I could still hear them over on the other ridge blowing. I mean, they blew 100 times, every bit of it. So I just started. I was like, okay, whatever. Go over and blow your head off. It don't matter. I've had very couple different incidents where deer are blowing and a buck still come in. So I was like, go over and blow your head off. Nobody cares. So I start creeping again. I get to the cemetery right there, and I started walking around the cemetery. This deer's still over here blowing. I think she finally shut up once I got about halfway around the cemetery. I walked the edge of the cemetery all the way around it and come out on the trail again, on the road again. And I was right on the edge of the woods. I could see my stand. I was looking at my stand. I was like, man, do I really want to get in my stand? I got a rifle. Do I want to limit myself to those shots from a stand, or do I just want to stay on the ground where I can shoot farther? So I was sitting there trying to decide that. And I was looking around, and I seen a little opening here. I could have just tucked down in and did all that. And I was like, man, I could tuck down into that. Well, as soon as I thought that, I just happened to look up, and here come this freaking joker right in the middle of the road, just walking right to me like it wasn't nothing. I was like, holy crap, because in the woods, this thing looked like a giant. I mean, he's not a monster by no means, but he's a pretty good deer. He looked like a freaking giant when he was in the woods. And I was just like, holy crap. Well, where I got pictures of him, my camera's right up there by my stand. He came walking down the road, and he turned right, going back towards my camera. I think I had a mineral rock there or something. I can't remember what it was, but he turned right. And when he turned right, I'm just standing here in the edge of the woods. Right, I mean, the road's right here, and I'm right here beside of it, but I'm just off of a little bit. And when he turned right, I picked my gun up. And when I picked my gun, I did it fast. That way, I didn't want to do it slow and then him see me doing it and then not have a chance to get him. So I just did it fast when he turned and got it up quick so I could get on him. When I did that, he stopped and turned and looked at me. And by the time he turned and looked at me, I had already squeezed the trigger and couldn't have made it any better. Perfect shot on a deer. I mean, granted, he was 20 yards away. I could have threw the rifle at him at that point, but this is the sketchy part right here. I don't know if this thing had one last ditch effort of I'm going to get you before I die or what, but that thing comes running right at me. I mean, straight at me. I'm like, holy crap. And you figure 20 yards for a deer to cover 20 yards takes no time at all. So I had to think fast. He come running at me, and I just ducked over to the side. I just jumped over in the weeds. That's all I could do. And I guess when I jumped over in the weeds, I don't know if he didn't see me or what, but when I jumped over in the weeds, he kind of turned a little bit and went to the opposite side of the trail, so it scared him when I jumped over there. But he jumped through the thickest pile of stuff that I've ever seen in my life. Went right through it like it wasn't nothing. And obviously the jitters and the shaking and all that started. I was like, I just shot a freaking big buck in Kentucky. Yeah, that's the biggest buck I ever shot in Kentucky. And so rather than go look for him or anything, I just kind of eased my way up the trail where I could get cell signal and called my buddies, called my dad. I said, Dad, I need the gator, because I remember I didn't go home to go get the gator. I said, Dad, I need the gator. I just shot a buck. He's a big one. I said, I need it. He said, all right, I'll be there in a little bit. So waiting on him, I'm calling everybody. I'm calling my buddy Chris, calling my wife. I can't remember who all I called. It was just a fun, one of those, holy crap, it just happened, panic mode, sending everybody everything. But Dad gets there, or no, let me put the brakes on this real fast. Once I got it calmed down and got everybody sent messages and all that stuff and got it all out there and yada, yada, blah, blah, I was like, I'm going to go look for him. He's got to be dead. It's a perfect shot. So I found blood right off the bat, and that stuff that he jumped through. Started following it around the ridge a little bit. And, I'm talking 30 yards maybe as far as I went, and I stopped and I'm looking, no blood. Couldn't find it. I was like, where in the world did he go? I said, I heard him go right here. I didn't hear him go any farther. Like, he's got to be laying here somewhere. So I just kind of start looking around. I don't see nothing. I'm looking for blood, nothing. I'm like, okay, I'm just going to back out here, wait till Dad gets here, and then I'll start tracking him again. Dad gets there. I'm like, I lost blood, but he's got to be here. I didn't hear him go any further than, he didn't go down the hill. There ain't no way. I didn't hear him go anywhere, just right here. So we got on blood again. The same blood that I already found, we got on it. We started looking again, and then we just kind of scoured the area, looking around, found blood again. I was like, okay, well, he went down the hill here. I looked up. There's a little ditch in the middle of the hill that's really steep, but not very deep. It's only like a couple feet deep, but it's just a little ditch that goes in the middle of the hill and goes all the way down the hill. He was laying right in that ditch right there. I walked right beside of him, didn't even see him. But found the deer, got the deer, got him mounted. That's the deer. If you've seen my cooking videos, that's the deer I've been eating on here this year. Back straps and all that. So it's always a good thing to eat what you kill. So that's the story of the biggest 10-point I've ever shot in Kentucky. Hope y'all enjoy it. I love telling these stories. I could listen to people's hunting stories forever. I love hearing stuff like that, especially around the campfire. But that's all I got for you today. Hope y'all enjoyed deer stories. Till next time. Thanks, y'all.